Thanks for being here. Hello, let's get this started. Once you click start, attendees can join.
I was going to say, yeah, we're in a practice.
Welcome, everybody. Hello. Thanks for joining. It's 12 p.m. Eastern time here. I don't know where it is, where you are in the world. I got messages from people in Australia, in Singapore, people who couldn't make this time slot. And I don't know if they were upset, but they did sound upset. But I told them we'd have a recording that would be available for them. And maybe one day we'll find a good time slot to connect with people in Australia, because we did meet a lot of people from Australia recently that are using the challenge cards, which is really exciting. Welcome, everyone. This is a different format than maybe we've done before. We've had to use the webinar format instead of the traditional Zoom format. So as you might see, you might not see everyone on the screen or in the gallery. That's too bad. I'd love to see you all, but what happened is we've got so many people signed up for this webinar. I think we had over 200 registrations. How many registrations did we have, Jody and Ali, do you know?
Well over 200. I want to say like 220 in there.
220. So our cap for a Zoom meeting was 100. So we had to switch this format. So anyways, glad that you're here. Wish I could see you. I wish we were in person. Some of you we met recently in person at the NCDA conference, and you might have met Jody and Ali. For those of you who haven't met Jody and Ali yet, who work for SparkPath, Jody, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Jody. I've been with SparkPath for, I think, like a year and a half now. And I do customer success and just success manager at SparkPath, just helping customers and helping JP as well. And
Great.
Ali, it's up to you.
Oh, me? All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Ali Gaffel. I'm a project manager at SparkPath, and I get to handle some of our really cool custom projects with some of the clients we're working on. You may or may not know, I let JP tell more if he wants to, but yeah, we've got some cool things cooking.
Yeah, we do have exciting things cooking. And for those of you who are meeting us for the first time, our company SparkPath created the challenge cards and the challenge mindset. And during this ChatGPT webinar, you'll learn about our unique approach to careers. And this session is interesting because you'll be able to leverage both the power of the challenge mindset and ChatGPT to get what I think are some really special results with students. I can't wait to get your thoughts, perspectives, points of view on this. And I think the best way to start is if you practice using the Zoom chat. Here's what I'd love to find out in the chat function. Would you be willing to tell me your name, where you're based, and what interests you about ChatGPT? Let me say that again. Can you share in the chat your name, where you're based, and what interests you about ChatGPT? I'm going to let you get started. And Angela, you're raising your hand. I'm so glad you're here. I'm going to unmute you because.
Hi, JP.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Somebody told us that the chat is disabled.
The chat's disabled. Yes, that's what I wanted to tell you.
We'd love to have that. So Jody, is there
Can't wait. I'm looking forward to this.
Thank you. Is there a way for us to enable that live, or did we miss the chance and now we have to go with Q&A?
You may have to do it within the meeting if you're able to see an option there. I'm just going to double check myself here.
Thanks, Angela. I love it when people volunteer to help. This is good. You're so kind.
I was surprised. I was like, no one wants to say their name. Let me know if you see anything there, JP.
I see a chat, and I just don't know if it works for everyone. Hi, everyone. So Angela, would you mind testing that? I just want to see if we can get people to use the traditional chat function to say their name, where they're based, and why they're interested in ChatGPT. And no, it's still not working. Okay. Celeste, we might have to use Q&A. Hey, my apologies. I know that you got an email from us yesterday saying that the meeting is canceled, and it wasn't canceled. We've had to adjust. For those of you who just joined us, we've had over 100 people subscribe, which didn't fit with the Zoom box of a Zoom meeting, so we have to upgrade to a Zoom webinar, so we're using a little bit different technology. So we're not going to do intros. So I wish you were here in person, and I won't get to see many of you, but we're going to use the Q&A function. Thanks for everybody who commented already. And we're going to use the raised hand function. And Angela, she's already spoken. Angela, I hope you'll get to speak many times during this webinar because I know you're a power user of ChatGPT. Okay. Let's get started. So here's a brief intro if we're meeting for the first time. My name is JP Michel, and I created a tool called the Challenge Cards. The spirit behind the Challenge Cards is helping students explore the world of work through a new lens. And the cards are used in so many different institutions around the world, including Harvard, Waterloo, and Western University. I wrote a book called The World Needs You that explains this unique philosophy and how it works. And I won a few different prizes for our unique approach to career exploration. In my background is in industrial organizational psychology. You'll get a taste of that today based on one unique ChatGPT prompt that I've created. And I have some sense of why you're interested in ChatGPT. If you want to share why you're interested in ChatGPT or what makes you interested, please share that in the Q&A function and I'll get to see that. But today I want to get right into what I'm going to call a demo. Demo meaning let's get right into ChatGPT, the tool. I'm assuming that most of you have used it before. Some of you have never used it. And I literally wrote a series of prompts that I'm going to give you after this webinar. So I know we're going to get this question a lot. Jody, if you don't mind, if someone comes in late, they may ask, are you going to be sharing these prompts at the end of the session? The answer is yes, absolutely, we will. You
Perfect.
can take them if you want. If you think that some of these prompts are good, yeah, feel free to take notes, but you're going to be getting all of these prompts at the end of the session so you can use them yourself with your students. I hope that's tremendously valuable for you. I've got some caveats though about like what I think the value of these prompts are. So let's get started with why we're here. In May, I had a debate on LinkedIn with another career advisor who described generative AI as the emperor's new clothes. In his article, he talked about the fact that there's nothing new here and compared generative AI to Google and other search engines. I told him candidly, I thought this would do a tremendous disservice to his students. I understand the value of being skeptical about new technologies. I think that generative AI has so many broad implications on our students that it is a disservice if we miss a chance to teach them about it. You'll see what I mean by the end of the session. And essentially, if you're not using ChatGPT yet, this is an invitation for you to consider, what if I utilize generative AI during my sessions with students, before, during, or after? What impact could that have on their short-term career exploration and long-term on their careers? I've seen so many advisors do this and to help level up their students by their use of ChatGPT. So I think it has huge value to you as a career advisor to speed up your work, to come up with new ideas, and it has a lot of value for our students. Here are some of the principles that I want to share with you. This is experimental. ChatGPT is changing all the time, so your mileage with these prompts may vary. Note, everything that I've created in this document was done through my ChatGPT. 1 year ago, that's like a meaningless thing to say, but today, ChatGPT is learning from me, meaning it's capturing and remembering my responses. And when it responds to me, it remembers what I've asked it last month and 6 months ago. Therefore, when you use these prompts, they may not lead to the same answer that I have. It may require some tweaking on your part. Next principle, I don't think this is a tool that's ready for you to say to students, go use this on your own. I've done it. I've asked them to do that, to experiment with it, but it's for the right student at the right time. I think it's still like prompting in this whole endeavor that we're on is too raw to ask students to go and do it on their own, especially if they have no experience. Instead, what I do is I try it with students, and I'm getting a lot of great results doing that. That's why I named this webinar save time, and impress students. Because I don't know how interested you are in impressing your students, but it feels good to me when I impress my students. And some of these prompts have impressed the students that I help. I do think that focusing on mindsets, as I mentioned in the recent LinkedIn post, is more important than actually giving you the prompts. What that means is that, yes, you'll get the prompts, but today in the session, I'm going to focus with you on the mindsets I use to create these prompts. That way, you can create your own prompts. You can modify and improve my prompts. I think that's much more important than the copy pasting of my prompts. Okay, you'll notice a huge trade-off in this entire exercise that initially made me very uncomfortable. Using ChatGPT, I'm prioritizing speed over accuracy and depth. Doesn't that sound scary? I'm prioritizing speed over accuracy and depth. That's scary because we love accuracy. If I research a specific job and I get inaccurate information, that's dangerous. There are consequences to that. We also love depth. We love asking our students open-ended questions. We love helping them reflect, helping them look deeper. By the way, some of them don't love that, okay? They're not wired the same way that we are, okay? So I want you to please keep an open mind and notice that I'm really prioritizing speed over accuracy and depth. And I want you to think about, well, what would be the benefits of that? I can tell you for students that when the results they receive are disproportionate compared to the effort they put in, that's called magic. Let me say that again. If they put in a little bit of work and they get tremendous learning, tremendous results, huge leaps, that feels like magic, and they love magic. That doesn't mean they don't need to go back and get accuracy, go back and do depth later on. But I think any magical experience we can give them, that's a plus for us, because they'll be more keen on exploring more when it comes to career development. They'll tell their friends about how magical their experience was with their career advisor. Okay, a couple more. Stay with me. I know this is theory, but we're going to go right to applied in a couple minutes. You'll see I use an iterative approach to generative AI instead of settling for the right response. You're going to see me making mistakes. I've made hundreds of mistakes to get to these prompts. So I hope that saves you a little bit of time. I'm going to use a challenge mindset here today, which is I'm not going to pretend like I'm going to match a student with one job title forever using ChatGPT. I'm going to help them find problems to solve first, and then we'll explore what are the possibilities related to those challenges, a much more impactful, inspiring approach. And when I use Gen AI, I'm trying to break down complex problems into smaller steps instead of expecting one-shot solutions. That means I can't copy paste this entire document and say go, because ChatGPT is going to get really confused. They're going to consolidate, they're going to summarize, they're going to cut corners, they're going to elaborate in the wrong places. So a lot of this I need to copy paste small pieces, and ChatGPT tends to respond better to that. Jody, what did I forget, miss? What fascinating questions might have we gotten in the Q&A already?
Yeah, Eugene said, do you think that there is a value of using ChatGPT 4.0 versus the free version?
I think that everyone gets 4.0 now for free temporarily, which means for a certain amount of hours or a certain amount sorry, not for a certain amount of hours, but a certain amount of prompts.
Prompts, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You and I have been using it. And so then today I got to my maximum prompts really fast, and then I was what's called penalized, and they said, you won't be able to use 4.0 until 137. Eugenie, I can do so much with the basic version, the free version. I do not think that for anything I'm doing today, it's worth upgrading. That used to not be true, but the basic version's constantly upgraded. So that would be my recommendation for today, unless you had a special reason for you to upgrade. Anything else, Jody?
No, I think you covered it.
Okay. Okay, well, thanks for that. I think that's really important, the background here. And if along the way, if we miss something, if we're not talking about something you want to talk about, please put it in the Q&A. That's really going to help me figure out where you're at. Okay. The first thing I'd like to do is, well, first of all, here's my agenda. This is me live in a session with a student. Okay, I'm going to prep with them. I'm going to help them flip the model, explore, and apply. You got that? Prep, it's kind of like setting the stage, flip the model, explore, and apply. and you're welcome to follow my approach verbatim in a very linear way, or pick and choose what you think is most useful based on the student that you're working with, okay? So I'm working side by side now with ChatGPT open on the left and my prompt on the right. Okay, so I think it kind of feels slightly painful to me that I'm gonna have to read my prompts to you, but I don't see any way around that unless they're really obvious, but I'll just read some of them out to you to get us started. I want to work with you as my career coach co-pilot. Let me take the lead because I'm a trained career advisor. I will tell you about the client I'm working with and we will work together to help them get a job. Great. Okay, believe it or not, it took me 5 iterations just to get this prompt. Okay, some of the prompts I made, it took me 10 prompts. I called them a co-pilot instead of a career coach. Initially, I had them as a career coach. They made way too many suggestions. They made too many recommendations that were, let's say, below my level of expertise, that I didn't like their career coaching style. So I don't want a career coach. I want a co-pilot. See how that's a nuance that's really important that I had to tweak as I went through this exercise. Okay, just some more context. Due to confidentiality, I'm going to refer to the person I'm supporting as Jim. He's failing his business classes, and he was eventually able to just get a certificate, which is like kind of like a partial amount of credits. This person loves history. By the way, his parents told him that he couldn't do history. He had to do something more practical business. You've met a student like this before, okay? He works in a restaurant, is not sure what to do next, and he has come to me for help in figuring out his next steps. Okay, again, ChatGPT is making recommendations. I don't want recommendations yet. So here's what I should have added. Okay, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to show you my style here. I'm going to go back and I'm going to edit. I don't even want to read your suggestions yet. You don't need to make suggestions yet. Just follow my lead. You're my co-pilot, not my coach. Okay, got it. That's right, ChatGPT, very good listener. First, I want to help Jim look beyond job titles. Help us learn about the challenge mindset. Can you read this transcript from the TEDx talk and share a student story with Jim? So here I'm in the challenge mindset TEDx talk, and I'm just going to copy the transcript here. If I send just the link, ChatGPT might say, I can't watch a video, or I can't read a link. And I think 4.0 might be a little bit better, but a simple solution for that is for me to just copy paste the transcript. Notice that my formatting is really poor. I'm going to make a lot of spelling mistakes and typos during this session. ChatGPT is very patient and understanding with my bad formatting and with typos, okay? Okay, so here we go. Jim, the challenge mindset is a career exploration approach that shifts the focus from choosing a specific job title to addressing real-world challenges. One thing you'll notice is that ChatGPT uses the word passionate a lot because we're talking about careers. That's typical. It's a popular word. I don't like it. I wrote a whole book without using the word passion, maybe except in the session where I said, here are the problems with using the word passion. So I don't like that part. So I could have an instruction, like a personal pet peeve. I could say, listen, for the rest of today, don't use the word passion. I don't think it's that big of a deal, so I'm going to keep going. Just by reading this, Jim, maybe he doesn't want to watch the YouTube. Maybe I'm just going to tell the story of Anna's story. Students love this story. Anna explaining, okay, she wanted to clean polluted waters. She found companies that were doing that. She looked up people who were working there. She discovered they learned about material science and engineering, and she loved that option. So then Jim might think, like, I want to do this. I want to flip the model just like she did. So we're going to keep going here. I might ask Jim, like, if I'm in front of him, I'm going to say, well, what are the benefits of starting with challenges to solve instead of job titles to fit into? Maybe I'll ask him. Maybe I'll ask ChatGPT to summarize and give me some ideas. What does it do? It broadens perspective, enhances engagement and motivation, adapts to changing environment, promotes skill development, fosters innovation, improves career satisfaction. I like these. Sometimes ChatGPT comes up with an answer that doesn't fit with what I like or what I want. This is useful for me. And you know what? Just in terms of setting the stage, this works for me. Like, this is enough, and it meets my needs. Okay. Next, let's literally do that. I want Anna's amazing experience that she had flipping the model. I want to do it for Jim. So the next thing I want to do is I want Jim to pick his top challenge cards. So some of you might have done this exercise before using the physical or digital challenge cards. I'm right in the middle of a card sort here. I'm going to say protect biodiversity and landscape. That's very interesting for me. Design the future of transportation. Nope. Manage the planet's waste. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. And let's say I just went through the whole deck. There are 56 challenges. Okay, what do I want? You know what I want? I want to create meaningful experiences for others, improve mental health, and make it beautiful. Okay, confirm. So now I get my own, those of you who have the digital version, you get your own challenge profile report. But for ChatGPT, I'm going to have to tell them. Okay, I'm going to have to tell it, here are the challenges that I want to work on. Here are my top challenge cards. Great. I hope it won't make too many recommendations. Yes, it will. So that's not useful for me. So again, here I might have said, don't make any recommendations yet. By the way, some of you are here for the first time. You've never seen the challenge cards before, but you want to try this. Why don't you do this with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals? I don't know if you know those. United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. I created a prompt for you that mimics the challenge card sort with the UN SDGs. It's not as pretty, it's not as fun, but mechanically, you'll see that it's going to help a student choose the challenges they want to solve. It's going to take more time, but there's a prompt here just for that you're going to get at the end of this session. Okay, this is the most important step, the reflection step. Okay, so I'm going to say, help me reflect on my choices of top challenges. So I wrote a prompt just for that. Okay, oh great, look, it left a blank page. Maybe I'm going to turn my laptop or my computer over to Jim. What interests you about Make It Beautiful? I think when things are beautiful, people pay attention and connect. Wow, that's kind of nice. That's inspiring. Thanks, Jim. Okay, what about the next one? Improve mental health. Everyone deserves to live a fulfilling life. Well, I don't even need to type correctly, fulfilling life. Now we're tapping into their beliefs. See how this helps with purpose? This is like a belief that Jim has about the world. Oh, look, ChatGPT is encouraging me. That's a meaningful perspective. Okay, what about create meaningful experiences for others? Okay, for this one, I'm inspired by museums, how they change people's minds and help them feel awe. I love listening, by the way, to why people choose their challenges. It's not often that we get an actual insight that's so practical, like a museum that we get to explore, but it is incredible the insights that students or professionals share about why they chose their top challenge. I love reading that. Holly, we got a question here from Holly about including the UN SDGs. A lot of schools are doing this, Holly. Like I presented at NCDA with Candy Ho, who was the chair of the board at CERIC, about using the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals to bring to life the challenge mindset. And they're being used in the classroom. It's just so many of our schools are using both the challenge cards and UN SDGs. So I think the UN SDGs are very good for a certain type of student. For example, if you use the Holland codes, your investigative type, that's a good fit usually for the UN SDGs. It's not as broad though for your realistic, for your artistic, for your conventional, for your enterprising, a little bit for social, but I love seeing them used. Question from Nicholas Brown. Oh, great to see you. Does this iteration of ChatGPT retain context over several questions? For example, it does. It does, and it got way better at retaining context. Not only does it retain context over this session, over these questions, but over time. And I think I needed to personally approve that would happen. But we're getting closer to the stage where everyone has access to their personal AI assistant that's going to remember a lot more about who they are and how they operate. Okay. Great. Jody, do you mind removing these other questions? I think we've addressed all of these. I don't know if you've got the power to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I love questions, by the way, so please keep them coming. I find them very relevant and very engaging for me while I'm presenting to know what's top of mind for you. So just to recap here, we found challenges that the person wanted to solve for Jim. We've reflected on why, the most important step, because why you choose improved mental health might be completely different than why somebody else chooses it. So that reflection is going to give us insights we can use later. For example, this museum idea. So now I want to find companies that are working on these challenges. Can you help us find 5 organizations in where? Well, let's say Jim's in my province of Ontario here in Canada. Can you help us find 5 organizations working on each of these challenges? Must be real companies that are currently operating. Why did I write real companies? Well, ChatGPT wasn't good at discarding companies that don't exist anymore. So that's why I added that in the prompt. This was one of my favorite things about ChatGPT in relation to the challenge mindset. For over a year, it's been able to give me real companies that are working on the challenges that I am interested in. So look, that's it. We did it. Improved Mental Health, Distress Center, Ontario Mental Health, Mood Disorders of Canada, Royal Ontario Museum, Art Gallery, Science North. Notice how, back to Nicholas's question, like it remembered that for Jim, creating meaningful experiences for others could be related to museums. So look at the bias here towards museums. This could be useful, or if ChatGPT got it wrong, we might tell them. Here's a more ambitious prompt that I think won't work, but I'm going to try it in front of you anyway. Give me 5 companies that work on all 3 challenges simultaneously. Notice that I typed that with as many mistakes as I made, and Jody's used to see me doing this. It bothers Jody a little bit, but she's polite and doesn't mention it, but it doesn't bother ChatGPT at all, correct? You can make fun of me, Jody, it's okay.
Yeah.
So this, yeah, I didn't think it would work. I don't know if it's true that it didn't work. It gave me organizations that were already on the list that I don't like. I wanted new ones. I could have said that. But maybe it suggests connections between challenges. Excuse me. It suggests like this is not just improved mental health. There's a beauty aspect to this that you haven't considered yet. That I like, because I don't think Jim would have thought of that. So that's it. That I like that piece of it. Okay, so now I want to go back to these companies, and I don't like this format, by the way, to show Jim. Art, it sounds bland. Art Gallery of Ontario offers art exhibitions and programs. Yeah, of course. Why don't we make it more challenge mindset? Okay. Now, can you write all of these companies? All 15. Write them like it's a problem to solve. Imagine there was a challenge card written for this. Okay. Create awe-inspiring exhibits that educate. Offer transformative art experiences. I'm a little bit more inspired. Now I'm more excited about showing this to Jim. I think this is way cooler. Develop interactive science displays. That's not as good. Support mental health initiatives. Fun. Okay, it's not bad. Some of them are good. They're not great. If I had to rewrite challenge cards for all these companies, I think we can make them better. But at least to show them to Jim, here are real companies that you can work for one day. I think that's powerful. Okay, Carrie says, I find a helpful question to ask first. What types of organizations work in this challenge to pick up the diversity of opportunities, and then going on to ask about specific companies in each sector? Carrie, that's brilliant. I love that suggestion. In fact, Jody, Ali, and I have just created our first customized challenge cards deck. And I have to tell you that story, Carrie, right now because it's extremely relevant to your suggestion. So this is with, we'll publish this in the fall, by the way, but so you're getting an early sneak peek, but Ivy Business School at Western University asked us to help them. They said, listen, the mission for our business school is to prepare future leaders to work on the world's critical issues. That's the challenge mindset in action, isn't it? And our contact there on the team, Jennifer Bader, she said, well, listen, we've got a unique asset at this business school that no other school has, the faculty researching these issues. And she's right. So the question was, what if we can distill an expert's lifetime of research on a specific challenge to solve into a very clear, inspiring challenge card? So that's what we did. They gave us this material. Here's what our faculty's working on. And we made a deck of how many, Jody, can you remind me how many cards that we created for them? I don't know if you remember offhand.
Allie, do you remember?
Yeah, we've got 34.
34, I knew it was around there.
Both Jody and Allie were involved in the design and the conception, the project management. It's a really exciting project. So we made these 34 cards, and with beautiful images on the front. And the reason that you made me think of it, Carrie, is because on the back of the cards, that's what they opted for, the same idea you had. They didn't want specific companies or specific jobs. They went with types of organizations, which I think is a great fit for a lot of students. Maybe it's a great fit for Jim, just to find out like what's going on here in the nonprofit world, what's going on here in education, what's going on here in businesses, what types of companies are working on this. It's not exactly industries. That's not the correct word. It's types of organizations. So you nailed that. Thanks, Carrie, for making that suggestion. I can't wait for your next comment, Carrie. You set the bar high for your ideas. Okay, so back to our process. We're flipping the model. Challenges, companies, people. People, what do I want to learn first? What are the jobs available here? Can you help me find jobs? Find me 3 to 5 jobs at each of these companies that I might want to work on. The issue with this question is I think it might be too broad. It doesn't take account Jim yet. Like, what is he like? Like, maybe if some of you are in high schools, maybe you want to go with this type of breadth. But I feel like there's a little bit too much urgency for Jim because he's in university, he's graduated, it's not working out. So I'm going to use some data that I know about Jim. So I'm going to say, here's some jobs that like what could be his Holland codes, for example. Maybe he's done a Holland code, so maybe that's going to help us. I know I'm not going to match him necessarily, but I'm going to say in general, what are some jobs that might be interested for someone with this profile? Let me see if this works. I think my prompt is imperfect here. I job, IA, IR. Okay, interesting. I don't know if I agree with all these. I'm going to say, I'm going to tweak this prompt. I'm going to say, connect, show me your reference. Show me your reference to ONET for each one. Okay, so I think that ChatGPT did their best job guessing, but I think they were inaccurate here. So I might ask them to make me a list with ONET connected. See, I think this might be a little bit better. And then I've got a hyperlink there for each one. Okay, that's a bit more powerful. Okay, so let's say the job I want to explore now is museum curator. Let's pick one. I want to learn more about the job. Okay, let's see if this can help. Using the challenge mindset, what are the challenges, problems, or opportunities do they solve? Stay away from the task. Think of impact and mission. Who are they trying to help? Each description should be less than 8 words. So let's see if this works. Enrich public understanding through created exhibits, preserve historical artifacts, inspire curiosity and learning, foster cultural appreciation, create engaging narratives. I like this. If I click on ONET, you've seen the ONET pages for museum curator, right? Like it's a very detailed page, it's very structured. This is a little bit more inspiring. This is, to me, should be the front page of museum curator. I just want to inspire Jim at this point because we're exploring. I think we'll do ONET, but we'll do it later to get those types of details. So I like this. I know I did this with a student who was a journalist. Like, what does a journalist actually do? And then ChatGPT told me the tasks. No, not the task. Like, how do they change the world? How do they impact the world? That speaks to someone like Jim. Okay, so we looked at the job. Now I want to learn more about the job. So maybe I'll ask it, what do we need to learn to be able to do that? Let's see if ChatGPT can do that. art history, museum studies, archaeology, history, cultural heritage management. That's good. That's degrees. What about beyond degrees? What else do I need to learn? Maybe I'll get some practical experience. Project management. Oh, what is that? Why do I need that as a museum curator? Okay, we'll get back to project management later. Specialized skills. Oh, I like these. Technical skills, soft skills. Oh, this is good. This is good. Now I actually want to learn these things because they're connected to a problem that I want to solve. I want to create meaningful experiences for others. I can do that in a museum as a curator, and I want to learn these skills that are going to actually help me do that. If it was hard for the student to choose museum curator, again, you can make it into a card deck type of activity or a quiz, and I've given you a prompt to be able to do that. It's a bit mechanical, but I think this is one way to do it. Okay, so now we're still flipping the model. By the way, once we're done flipping the model in about 5 minutes, I'm going to pause and we're going to ask you what's the most useful thing that I've shared so far in the webinar, but just follow me along for one more step. We've done a little bit of learning. Let's go to the story last. And those of you who have read my book, The World Needs You, I think you know that this is maybe the most provocative idea I share in the book, is to end with story instead of starting with story. And to give you the background behind that is so many of the folks we're working with, including Harvard, their idea is that, okay, we're working with Pell Grant eligible students. We're working with students that are first generation. We're working with students that have gone through tremendous hardships. And some of these experiences have caused them to have an exposure bias. They're not aware of what's out there in the world of work, degrees, jobs, etc. If we start with who they are, tell me who you are, tell me who you like based on what you already know, tell me about your past, we risk crystallizing who they were at the expense of who they can become. I want to scare you as much as possible with that sentence. Let me do it again. We risk crystallizing who they were at the expense of who they can become. What I mean by that is through this process of using the challenge mindset and exploring all these practical examples, your students will discover new possibilities they never imagined before in just a few minutes. By learning from those people, learning about those companies, reading those websites, being inspired by their mission, now they can create an aspirational identity. Who do I want to become in order to do that? And I think that's the mission of education, is that where you come from doesn't determine where you go. I think that's one of the fundamentals of equity. So this is why I suggest to do story last instead of first, because you have discovered so many new things that you didn't even know you could include in your story. Okay, so that's the step about story. Let's play with it a little bit. The world isn't looking for another cookie cutter museum curator. Help me reflect on these questions. How am I uniquely wired to contribute? I think this might be a very long exercise or very long question to answer. I think some of you have already been certified in StrengthsFinder. Maybe you have a values card sort that you've done before. There's so many great psychometric tools. Some of you use Principles U or Focus 2. This is where you can plug in this information. Here are my strengths and values. I think I'd like to do that. Let's find out if ChatGPT can integrate this information. Okay, this is great because it's the first time in this exercise. Sorry, it's been quite a few steps where it wasn't personal to Jim. It was the outside world. Now it's to him. You like connecting this? Here's how you can have a unique impact in museums. You're a developer. You have an empathy. Here's how empathy is valuable as a museum curator. Here's how harmony is going to help you solve the challenge you want to solve. This to me is inspiring. Remember my guy Jim, he's lost hope. He couldn't even have the motivation to take on his classes and finish his degree. I want to show him you have value. I want to show him the world needs you. And to me, this is a practical way of doing that. It took us a few steps to get here, but now this is great, inspiring content. What if I went even further? I'm sure Jim feels like he's not ready to do this, but I want to show him like you have skills to work towards here. I'm going to say, can you summarize this in a unique value proposition that I could use in an informational interview, in a cover letter, in a resume header, a job interview. You know, we want to, and yeah, Eugenie says we focus on aspirational. Yeah, I like that as well. Thank you. So here are some examples. Notice that I said here, give me 3 very different examples to choose from and to highlight the different parts of who I am. I wrote this sub prompt, let's call it, because I didn't like the answers that I was getting at first. I feel like they didn't have enough variety. They might not know Jim enough to know which strengths he cares about yet. Like 5 strengths is a lot. So here are 3 examples that he might want to use. I think this is a good starting point as a draft, but we need to iterate and work on that before it would be a polished value proposition, or that we use it in our materials, or that we talk about it with someone. Okay, in phase 2, I've got some really cool stuff I want to show you about how to experience the job before you start the job. But let me pause there. I want to get your comments, questions, reactions, your concerns. Can you tell me what was the most useful part of the webinar for you so far? You can say watching me make spelling mistakes was really funny. I hope so. Some comedic relief. You can tell me about a principle, or you can even tell me a specific prompt that you thought stood out and you're like, oh, maybe I want to try that. Questions, comments, reactions. Here they come. What was useful? Melanie says, seeing how you refined your prompts to get more useful results. Yeah, that's a huge part of the process. Thanks for picking up on that. Holly, chat's disabled. I'm so sorry, Holly. I know. Please use the Q&A function for this. I might have said chat, but I meant Q&A. Angela, I like the pathway you follow from challenge to story, customized for each person. Yeah, great. Thanks. I'm so glad you like it. The prompts, the connection with the challenge mindset. Thank you. I'm glad that was useful. I enjoyed seeing the creative way you use and prompt ideas. Led me down multiple rabbit holes. Just wait for what's coming next. There's so many more rabbit holes coming. I'm so excited about the next one that I'm going to show you. Alexandra liked the prompts for the strengths. Okay, good. Really glad you liked the one with the strengths. Reducing my hesitancy to use AI for career exploration. I think, Rachel, it's great to use it alone a few times, but then using it live with students and making mistakes, it's very refreshing to them. They like seeing you like being unsure. It's because they feel so unsure in their career process. So I recommend that. Seeing the extra comments you're adding to the prompts to make them more specific. Yes, I don't want to tell you how long I spent preparing for this session. I did that a lot. Love the caution to avoid solidifying who they were. Oh, good. I'm glad that part resonates with you. Carrie, integrating personal skills attributes into the prompts for personalization. Yes, I've got a few more really good ones about personalization coming up. Oh man, I have about 10 more comments to get through. I can't. I'm sorry. I love the comments. I can't get through them because I know how much content I'm going to squeeze into the next 14, 15 minutes we have left together. If we have time, I'm going to come back, but I'm just going to say short term, I appreciate you writing what you wrote, and I'm going to go back and read everything that you said because I actually want to learn what was most useful for people in the webinar. So thank you. Okay, so here, let me intro this before we start. I think Jim's biggest problem right now is he has no idea what a museum curator does. Okay, it sounds cool, but we've got about 4 minutes of research under our belt, or 14 minutes. It's not enough. We got to go find out. I know you want to say informational interviews. I'm going to say, wait just a second. We'll get to that. Can we do something else? Here's what I thought about. In my past life as an industrial organizational psychology consultant, we used to create assessment centers, essentially job simulations for 1, 4, or 8 hours that would put you in the day of a life of a museum curator. I don't even know how much it would cost to create that. $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, maybe $20,000. You need to do a job analysis. There's just a formal process, legally binding for hiring, that is related to a realistic job preview. Your assessment center would need to be validated. Um, what if we sacrifice all of the quality and the accuracy of the job simulation to prioritize speed? Remember the principle I told you? What if we created a light version that doesn't have 100% accuracy, that doesn't have 100% validation or depth, but that would illustrate a day in the life of a museum creator or an hour in the life of a museum creator? What difference would that make for a gym? I think it can make a big difference. Some of you may already have this. Can you tell me in the Q&A, by the way, if we already pay for software or video series that does exactly this? That'd be cool. I'd love to know. I'm going to tell you about a free way of doing it now that you might want to experiment with. So here's my prompt. You are an IO consultant that's going to build an assessment, a job simulation / assessment for a museum curator. It's got to be connected with the problem they want to solve, right? Creating meaningful experiences for others. And let's say Jim's already said, like, I want to work at the Royal Museum of Ontario. So please make connections to their work. And this is a long prompt, so I won't read the whole thing, but you can go read it on your own. We're going to send you all of these prompts, by the way. And I also said, make it connected to their success profile. Okay, so what's the goal of this? Evaluate your ability to be a museum curator. Interesting, it's a simulation. Here's the problem statement: cultural connections, building traditions and modernity. Design brief. Develop a conceptual plan for your interactive exhibition section, which includes these elements. Cool, maybe you'll be asked that in a job interview. Problem solving. Imagine you're receiving feedback from a focus group indicating the initial design lacks engagement for younger audiences. How would you modify it? Write a brief strategy. Stakeholder communication. A museum curator has to do stakeholder communication? Yeah, prepare a short presentation for the people actually funding you. And it needs to be good. And maybe here are some of the evaluation criteria that could be used. Here are instructions for the candidate. Here's the outcome. You see how detailed it got? For me, it feels fairly serious. I love the content, by the way. I don't even know. I think I need to get it validated by a museum curator, but I think it gives me a cool place to start exploring. I could ask Jim, hey, Jim, go do this as an assignment. Take an hour, take 2 hours. Can you make it less serious, more fun and playful, and like a video game? I don't know how, maybe you're doing this for a high school student, right? Like, it doesn't need to be formal like the executives that we did it for. Oh, the quest. Here's the mission. You're the hero. Here's the adventure map. Here's the hero challenge. That might be a little bit more fun. Why not add more fun into this? And maybe we can even ask it to create a scoring grid for the simulation. Oh, there you go. Pausing. This is a tough one for it. Maybe it's just my internet's down. Here we go, a grid. Okay, now imagine if Jim did a self-assessment. Imagine if Jim brought his homework to an actual museum curator that had to go in and rate the work that they did. Wouldn't that be a cool part of like an informational interview? It might be going too far too fast for most students, but I just wanted to show you the potential that it has here, which I think is very interesting. Okay, thoughts, questions, comments on that? Can you write up if you've got questions or comments on that? Mike, I just noticed that my laptop is dying. I'm so sorry. I'll be back in 30 seconds, but I'd love your thoughts on that. I'll be right back. Somebody said a nice comment about my enthusiasm. Isn't that nice? Wow. That's
I tried to
good.
get rid of that quickly.
No, it's going to go to my head, Jody. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's really sweet. Thank you. A lot of information to process feels overwhelming. Celeste, I completely agree. Like from a facilitator's perspective, I even told Jody and Allie, um, and just put yourself in my shoes if you don't mind. Like I really focused on content today and having a lot of content because these are actual prompts that I can use. So I focus less on how to integrate them. So it might feel jarring that way. That's on me, Celeste, which means I'm presenting this very fast. Um, at the expense of what? At the expense of integration. So here's what I'm hoping. Here's my recommendation for everyone on the call. We're going to give you these prompts. Just figure out which ones you want to try first. Can you try them for yourself with your own gym story with someone you're helping, but after your meeting where it's safe? You can make as many mistakes as you want. You do that a couple times. I think that will give you enough comfort to want to try it with a student. That would be my recommendation. But Celeste, that's on me. It's just because of the speed at which I'm sharing all this information. And I'm going to tell you, in the next 5 minutes, it's going to get way worse, Celeste. I've got so many more prompts I'm going to squeeze in here. But that's my recommendation for you. Look at these on your own time and start experimenting with what's most useful for you. In the spirit of moving forward, let me skip some of these some of these prompts. I'd like to do informational interviews. What are the 5 most important questions I could ask a museum curator? Actually, no, I want to show you this one just because at the end, there's something very special. What would differentiate me from most people I meet? This end to the prompt actually gave me a way better question. How do you balance the need for this and for that? Well, that's cool. That sounded more deep than like how much money do you make, right? Can you share an example of a challenge you face? What strategies do you use to stay current trends? I like these. All my next prompts are about applying for the job, analyzing the job. So can you analyze this job description? I want you to take on the role of the hiring manager. What are the top 5 factors that predict success? From that, I've gotten some really good insights. One of my favorite prompts was help me identify my biggest gaps that hiring managers will want to learn more about. So let's do that one quickly. And I've got a museum curator job here that I can copy, I believe. I thought I had a good one here. Here it is. And again, like my thing is I wanted to ask ChatGPT to read the post, but that's not always successful for some reason for me. Like sometimes it tells me that's not possible. So I just gave it a lot of text and I'm always impressed by how fast it works. So top 5 factors in predicting success. There it is. That's an opinion. I think these, so notice here I say, how did you prioritize these top 5 as most important? The reason I added that part of the prompt is because I was very skeptical. I'm like, are you really this good? I've been doing this for 20 years. Like, are you really this good to come up with the top 5? How did you do it? Well, it looked at, then I said, like, explain your rationale, how you prioritized it. And I thought it gave me pretty solid answers. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'll start with your top 5 instead of starting from scratch, but I will evaluate how accurate this is. I really like this question for Jim. Jim thinks I can't do museum curation yet. Okay, well, let's talk about what your biggest gaps are because we're going to address them as part of the cover letter. And that's the next section is like cover letter, etc. Here's one of my favorites. Earlier I said project management. Maybe Jim really doesn't want to learn project management because they think it's irrelevant for museum curators. Well, what I like to do is to say, well, help me learn project management. Tell me why this is going to help me address my unique strengths and weaknesses. Here are mine, by the way. This is, in the spirit of being completely transparent, here are my unique strengths and weaknesses. And I'm going to tell ChatGPT, I'm going to really open up my heart. You may not be comfortable being this open with on a webinar that's recorded or with ChatGPT, but I am. So here we are. I really told ChatGPT what I'm really good at, what I struggle with. And then I'm like, okay, like make me a learning plan for project management. Okay, here's how it's going to help me. Here's how I can leverage my strengths. Here's how I can address potential struggle. Here's like what I can learn about in a 5-minute chunk, in a 10-minute chunk. Here's a gamified scenario similar to the last one where you would work on your project management skills in a very practical way related to museum studies. So you see how detailed it gets. The next phase, I think you nearly all of you have already experimented with or you've heard about. Now that you know all this about me, make me a cover letter. Now that you know all this about me, make me a resume. Now that you know all this about me, make an interview letter. My prompts, you could use my prompts or modify them. You'll notice that in my prompts, I focus back on the challenge mindset. I focus back on the problem that's needed to solve. I make it deeper, more engaging. I differentiate it. How can you differentiate me from other candidates? So I encourage you to go play around with all of these different ideas to see where you land. Now that we have 5 minutes left together, what did I miss? What else did you want to talk about today that I haven't covered? Can you tell me in the Q&A? In the meantime, I want to invite you to check out our giveaway. Every time we do a free webinar, we do a free giveaway of tools and resources. Today's no different. Some of you want your own deck of challenge cards, a physical deck. Some of you want the book, The World Needs You. We're giving away a copy of each as usual. The way you're going to get access to it is through this QR code. Jody, I'm not sure if you or Ali has the actual URL that you can copy paste into the chat so people can access it. Usually that's what I do, but I forgot to do it this time. Would you mind doing that? It might be faster than the QR code. It might help some people. So I want you to enter into the draw. If you already have a deck and you want another one, I don't mind. Go ahead and do that. You could participate in the draw. But this is just as a thank you for you to participate in the session and to engage and use this stuff with your students. So in the meantime, while you're coming up with your questions and comments, I'm going to read a few. Megan says, love this. One of my concerns is that our career appointments are 30 minutes long. Any tips on how this could be integrated into this period of time? How long does this process usually take when you're working with students? Megan, the first thing I want to do is find out, like, what do I need to do for Jim right now? What does he need right now? And maybe he needs hope and inspiration. So I'm just doing the challenge cards. Just doing the challenge cards, I'm talking about that. And then I might very quickly flip the model. Companies, people, jobs, and learning very, very quickly. And then I have a clear piece of homework for Jim coming out of this. Listen, you told me you want to switch majors. You told me you want to go back to school. You told me you want to explore. Here's your one piece of homework. So I can do that in 30 minutes. Some of you will ask your students to fill out the digital challenge cards before they show up and to reflect on why they picked it. I like that idea too. That saves time. Nicholas says, in the context of class of high schoolers, how long do you anticipate an average ChatGPT session can engage? Oh, it's the same one as Megan. I think you could do this over 3 different days, but you shouldn't. You should do an impactful 30 or 45-minute session to introduce them to this idea. Most students I work with, they say, I didn't know ChatGPT did this. They only know ChatGPT as the cheating tool to plagiarize and copy and cheat on your essay. That's all they know, which is a shame because going back to the first thing, Gen AI will impact their lives and careers. And if they're learning about it from us, how powerful could that be, right? Like we've got a great chance to help them figure out how it works. Okay, very creative and detailed use of Gen AI, very thought-provoking. Thank you for all the prep work you put into this session. I've learned a lot. Thank you, Sabrina. I'm so glad. You know why I'm doing this, right? Like I love sharing these ideas with all of you because you teach me a lot of other stuff. But you know, like I'm trying to experiment. What's the future of the challenge cards? What's the future of our tool? You know, I'm not a tech person. I had to learn tech and work with great tech people. But the vision I want to invite you in is what if we experimented with integrating some of these prompts into our platform directly? So it wouldn't feel as mechanical. It wouldn't feel as unsafe and risky, but it would actually be connected. These are the things that Jody, Ali, and I have been experimenting with for the last 6 months, and we're trying to learn about how do we start. It's a very ambitious project, as you can anticipate, and I'm going to be relying on all of you to test out our new ideas as we test out these things. But that's part of the spirit of why we're doing this. I think we have time for a couple more. Katie says, working with high school students, I'd be interested in educational pathways and options based on financial situations and time, as well as volunteer experiences they can engage in that align with their goals. Katie, you nailed it. That's it. That's your prompt, right? Jim doesn't need X, Y, Z. Okay, that version of the student needs educational pathways, maybe specific schools. How much do these things cost? Again, you're trading accuracy for speed, but they're going to love speed because it's going to encourage them. It's going to get the ball rolling. Then they'll be able to validate those things on websites. Samantha, I appreciate your hard work and the wisdom you're sharing with all of us. Hey, I'm so glad. I'm glad it was useful for you. Corey, I typically use the example that the internet was the new in the 90s, and look where we are today. AI is here to stay, so we must learn how to use this. Appreciate your deep dive. Thank you. I agree with Sabrina. Thank you, JP and team. Irina, this may be beyond the session, but I'm wondering how to integrate the tools, including cards in the work with other demographics, general job seekers, particular career transitioners. Irina, the best place to start is if you join our challenge cards, our challenge mindset community. We've got a free 7-day course that talks about the theory and how the challenge mindset works that goes beyond what we did today. And you should know that there's a lot of folks that have taken that course exactly for the same reason you want it. How do I use this with adults? And you're not the only one. There's quite a few people using this with adults, mid-career professionals, even retirees. Katie, do you have students log in on their own accounts instead of yours to build that relationship with the AI? Not at first. I use my account, but I think it's a great idea to use yours eventually. Next, a lot of my clients are on the older side or have been incarcerated for a while, not familiar with ChatGPT or modern tech. Any resources I can give them as basics? Maybe you want to start with something more gentle, easier. You could start with something humorous, Andres, which is making jokes and doing some back and forth. But after that, I think if they do the challenge card sort, they'll be able to understand what this means. But I think if you could do some sort of fun intro prompt, in fact, what I would do, Andres, is I would copy paste the question you asked me and ask ChatGPT, hey, here's my situation. What do you recommend? And I think they could come up with something very useful. Eugenie, we'll send you the link to the Challenge Mindset community as part of the follow-up email with these prompts. And everybody else who's saying thank you, I know you have another meeting to go to, but I'm thrilled that you were able to spend this time. Can't wait to do this session again on maybe a different topic in the fall. Feel free to send me your ideas and resources on what you want us to present on. We're happy to help. We love what you're doing, by the way, because you have a shared mission with us, which is helping students reach their potential. Jody, Allie, what did I forget? I'm so upset that I'm at 101 instead of 1, but here we are. What did we miss?
I think you got it. I think you have everything.
Yeah, and if not, we're sending an email with our webinar recording and these resources. So, respond to our email and we'll answer your questions.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care. Bye.